What up, guys? So today I wanted to talk about some of the top underrated countries in Europe to move to, at least in my opinion. And now, normally when you think of moving to Europe, whether it's just for a couple years or for permanent, there's a handful of predominantly Western European countries that you think of. It's normally Spain or France a bit. France is a little more trickier than Spain. Portugal has become really popular. Then you got Italy, of course, and Greece, stuff like that. Those countries are always very popular. But there are some really great alternatives. Now, of course, if you have like your heart set on moving to one of those other countries, by all means. But if you're a little more flexible and if you are interested in trying something else that's not like overflowing with foreigners, where you can really kind of immerse yourself in the local culture, I personally have found that when you go to a country that isn't as overwhelmed with tourists, people are much friendlier with you. I find that pretty much any country you go to where it's not super touristy, people are much like more excited for you to be around. It's not just like, oh God, another tourist. So there's a handful of countries I think that really are underrated and undersold just because the name of the country is not France or Spain. And yet you can probably get more for your money. You will be more easily accepted. And it just, I don't know. These are, again, my opinion, but I think they're really worth checking out if you're interested in going to Europe and you're a bit flexible with the countries that you're considering. Now, really at the top of my list of underrated countries in Europe, and I will tell this to anybody who's willing to listen, but it's Albania. Now, Albania is directly east from Italy on the Adriatic Sea. It's directly north from Greece. So you get a lot of that crossover culture from Greece and Italy. You get a lot of the Greek and Roman Empire, ancient ruins and customs and all of that. And it's really, there's a large slice of coastline along the Adriatic Sea. It's beautiful. It is more affordable than Italy. You're not going to have as many just expats and immigrants from Western countries flooding in, and it's got everything you might want. From, at least for me personally, it's got a digital nomad visa. The digital nomad visa can lead to residency or citizenship, which is a major plus. And one of the biggest selling points is, if you're looking for a digital nomad visa, the financial requirements for this is under $10,000 a year. I believe it ends up averaging, currently, it's about $800 a month. So if you make at least $800 a month right now, and it's remote, you could go move to Albania and live on the coastline. And some of the, I'm moving through pictures here, so hopefully you can get an idea of it. Because I feel like, when people say I'm going to Europe, you think of 3 or 4 or 5 countries, and there's so many others that you just not picturing. And Albania is one you're probably not picturing, but hopefully, get a sense of really what's going on there. And it's, for me, the #1 underrated country to go to or to move to in Europe. Now, next, maybe not as underrated, I think it's starting to get a little more play, is Romania. And no, you don't have to be a Transylvania fan to really get into Romania. Again, since it's so close to like Greece, you're going to have ancient architecture. The historic architecture that's there in general is beautiful. Now, it does have some coastline on the Black Sea. It's not as expansive as other countries in the region, but so it does have some coastline. You have mountains there. It's really got so much that you might want, and the cost of living is much lower than what you're going to pay in Western Europe, and I just really think Romania is really a great option to consider. Next, Latvia. And I know, Latvia, the name might not be the sexiest sounding name, and, maybe you're looking at it like, former Russian satellite, I don't know. But this is, again, one of those locations where it's not inundated with outsiders, and so it's kind of nice when outsiders come in and want to experience the culture. As long as you're, again, wherever you go, as long as you're open to experiencing the culture and embracing it, I find the majority of places are really welcoming to that, especially when it's not accustomed to outsiders coming in, like a place like Latvia. Now, Latvia, you got to be into the kind of colder weather. If you're up for that, if you like it snowier, or heck, if you're from the Midwest in the United States, this is probably, I mean, weather is probably pretty similar. But one of the top selling points for Latvia, outside of a good, solid cost of living that's very affordable compared to the United States, is you can get residency within 2 years. You can go on a digital nomad visa. If you stay through 2 years, you can then apply for residency. Again, this is as of right now, beginning of 2024. Things can change, so double check if you're really interested in Latvia or any of these countries. Always double check because these things can change. But yeah, after 2 years, you can get residency and you can get your EU passport. Once you get that passport, the rest of the EU opens up and it becomes so much easier to travel around. You don't have some of those like 90-day windows of you got to get out. It's easier to buy property. It becomes so much easier. So even if Latvia isn't your end all be all location, if you just want an option for to become get your second passport without going the investment visa option, which can be expensive, this is just 2 years and you could qualify, which is one of the shortest options for Europe. In the whole continent. So that's really why Latvia is, I think, really an underrated destination. Now, Croatia. Croatia shares a lot of similarities with Albania, and they are like right next to each other. So if you like one, it's worth investigating the other. You might like one a little more than the other. It'd be kind of like if you're from Europe and you're investigating Canada or the United States. Like, there's a lot of similarities, but there's going to be some differences. Like, if you do Vancouver or Seattle, they're really close to each other, but there's going to be some differences. Croatia, takes up the majority of the northeastern arc of the Adriatic Sea. And so you have a lot of waterfront property. You also have some exceptional architecture. And again, because it's right butting up against Greece and really close to Italy, you're going to have the Roman and Greek Empire architectural elements going on and the ruins. And again, it has a digital nomad visa. And this one, currently, the financial requirements are 2,300 euros. So again, pretty low. That's less than 600 euro a week. And yeah, again, it's not quite the financial requirements are not, they're more than little. They're higher than Albania, but the two countries are right there. They're very affordable, and it's worth, if you want to go out and visit, you could easily do both and really kind of just check out the two spots and decide, okay, I like this one better than the other one, because to each their own, but they're both very underrated for European destinations to move to. I'm going to add Slovakia to the list. Now, Slovakia is definitely going to be overlooked. No one's really talking about, hey, let's move to Slovakia. And it's really like a sliver of land that's landlocked. It's not going to have any water, so that's a deal breaker. Move on to the next one. And it's smushed in between Hungary and Austria and Czech Republic, and the Ukraine and Poland. It's really kind of enclosed from all sides. Now, it's one of the more affordable countries in Europe, and again, it has there's a trickle of tourists, but it's not a major tourist destination. You might not even know anybody that's ever been there before. But that's one of the reasons that makes it under the radar. You will be greatly appreciated. Now, if you're somebody that needs an expat community, this might be a little tricky. This might be more of an option if you're a little more outgoing, if you're willing to try new things, if you want to connect with locals. Slovakia would be an option, but if you need that like expat community, you can go in some of the locations I've talked about, like Romania, has a growing expat community. But again, it really just depends on what you're looking for. Lastly, is a country that probably most people would assume wouldn't be on this list, but it's Norway. Now, usually, if you look at that part of Europe, it's you probably assume that it's going to be expensive. It's going to, there's just there's no way to go. I mean, if you're looking at Iceland, which isn't attached, but it's close enough, Iceland is really expensive and super problematic to move to. If you're considering Iceland, I'm going to tell you, probably consider someplace else, because Iceland is a pain in the butt in so many ways. It's expensive. All the visas are expensive and short. But Norway is solid financially. There are some great there's some fantastic visa options that include both digital nomad and a self-employment visa. Really, you kind of have to just create like an LLC, I believe, there. Maybe get some help with some paperwork, but it's pretty straightforward. And Norway is also one of the safest countries in the world. So yeah, you can have to be into the snow and all that stuff. But if you love the outdoors when it's snowing, you like going skiing, snow is your wonderland. Norway absolutely is one of the best countries to go to. That is underrated. So I definitely say check it out. But all right, guys, that is just a handful of European countries that I think are really underrated in terms of moving to, and either long term for a couple years or permanently. They don't get as much of the press as the Western European countries, and they probably never will. You might see some influx of digital nomads going into some of these places, but really, even the digital nomads can get a bad rap at times. But the reality is, digital nomads aren't buying property. I know in Portugal, digital nomads, people were blaming them for a lot of the property cost explosion. It's not them that's really the problem. It's just lots and lots of expats and immigrants moving at the exact same time that's driving up the price. And that's going to be the case with Western Europe. That will be the case. For Eastern Europe, which is where a lot of these countries that I'm mentioning are, that's probably not going to be an issue, at least for the foreseeable future. If all of Western Europe just overflows and people are tired of it and they start going east, then it could, but not for a while. So again, these are all great countries to consider. There's a little something for everything if you're considering Europe and you're a little flexible with what you're interested in. But yeah, I just wanted to put this video together, and that's about it. So like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. If you have a question, comment, let me know. I'll either address it in the comments or I'll make another video about it. Again, I'm just starting off trying to just create some stuff, answer questions, and do all the good stuff. Because I moved to South America a couple years ago. I'll be moving to Europe, and I will walk you guys through the visa application for different things, and I'll be showing that in upcoming videos. Anyways, for myself, Grayson, you guys take it easy, and I'll see you guys later.